Welcome to the Paranormal Pub Table, where we talk about the paranormal at a pub table. I'm Jeff.
I'm Linda.
I'm David.
I'm Megan. And
we're all here together. We're brought together for the spirit of the Christmas season, if you will, with the emphasis being on spirit, of course. Now, during Christmas time, it's often the time that people used to tell ghost stories. And a lot of people don't know, but the veil that allegedly separates the world of the living from the world of the spirits is actually thinner during the Christmas season.
Right. That's right. They say that this was the original time when people used to tell ghost stories because of that, but the tradition over time, I guess, has sort of faded. They don't really do that much anymore.
Right.
And now it's reserved for Halloween and the harvest, and, you know, people just don't gather around and tell ghost stories, and we kind of wish they did.
Absolutely, absolutely. It would give us something to do. But there are some interesting ghost stories that have happened on Christmas. And I remember I was looking at one earlier that took place on the Eastern Shore. And this was back in the mid-1700s. There was a woman who kept having this reoccurring dream of a skeleton. And this skeleton in the dream, it warned her not to venture outside on one particular night. I believe it was the night of Christmas Eve. Well, when her and her husband were in bed, they heard this loud sound coming from out towards the barn. So her husband went outside and she urged him, "Don't go. I had this dream and, we shouldn't be going out there tonight." But nonetheless, he said, just stay here in bed, stay here where you're safe, and I'm going to go out and check it out. So he goes out into the shed, into the barn, and he's looking around, and she's in bed waiting. And he's gone for what seems like a really long time. So the woman at this point decides she is indeed going to venture out into the night to search for her husband, against the skeleton in her dream's warning, of course. And when she gets out there, she finds her husband, and he was still trying to locate the source of the sound. But at the bottom of their steps, there was this old millstone, which served as like the first step. And she stepped on this millstone to go back inside, and when she did, this rabid fox darted out from under the house and bit her on the ankle. And she ended up dying from it. She got, I guess, whatever, rabies. They called it something like
hydrophobia.
Hydrophobia, which is, I guess, the equivalent of rabies, is it not?
Yeah.
So the woman actually ended up dying from the rabies, and it wasn't of natural causes. Her family, on Christmas Day, they decided to put her out of her misery by smothering her between two feather mattresses. And to this day, some 250 years later, on Christmas Day, the millstone has a spot of blood that will appear on it, where she was bit by the fox all that time ago. And I believe the name of this place was called Warwick. They referred to it as Warwick. It was something like the oldest brick house in the country. And it's an interesting thing if you think about it, because you often hear stories about spirits manifesting on the anniversary of their death or where the tragic event happened. But there's also the stories where it's just a fluid that appears, right?
Yeah.
And, when I say fluid, I mean typically it's blood.
Right.
And, if you take, for example, there's the place in Williamsburg, the Eastern State Hospital. And during the Civil War, the Union Army was in there and the patients were neglected. Well, Dr. Galt committed suicide in his house. I believe it was called the Lee House, or the Lee family moved in there afterwards.
Right.
And he overdosed on laudanum and bled out. And they could never get the blood out of the floor. They would wash it, they would paint, they even painted over it, and it would always appear back on the floor. So it makes you wonder, because we talk all the time about ghosts, and we've theorized if they take off their jacket and set it down, does the jacket disappear? If there's a Civil War soldier with a gun and he sets down the gun, does the gun disappear? Or is it a ghost gun? But here we are with blood appearing with no spirit around.
Right.
Do you think that, going back to the spirit that does appear covered in blood, like the bloody face in the window at the Thomas Nelson house, could the spirit wipe this blood off of his face? Does he have the ability to do that?
I don't know, because that's one thing that's always baffled me, is you hear all these stories about, about the spirits that are setting things down or leaving things behind. There was even the one of the ghost girl on, I think it's the USS George Washington, that they say that they see multiple times, but she's always in different clothing. You know, like, does she have a ghost wardrobe somewhere that she's, you know, accessing? So the whole thing about the blood is kind of interesting to me. I would almost tend to think that most objects or most materials would absorb blood, and that even though you think you've scrubbed it away from the surface of that porous material, it would end up seeping back to the surface of it anyways. But that really can't be the case with a millstone. I mean, stone is not porous. Right. So it's not going to absorb the blood and then it resurface. And if it was going to resurface, it would be at random. So I'm not sure what that would be from. Or
especially not some 250 years later.
Yeah.
Now you see these spirits, you talk about these spirits that have these gruesome wounds and it looks like blood is like dripping down from them.
Yeah.
Once again, the blood when it hits the floor, does the blood disappear?
I don't know.
But if this blood is just appearing on this millstone, I think this would be evidence that a spirit can leave blood behind.
Right.
Could potentially take off this jacket and set it down.
Yeah.
You know, take the case we had this weekend, where the ghost was taking off his clothes, right? When the ghost took off his clothes, did they stay in a ghost pile on the floor and he got dressed, you know, when he got up in the morning, or what happened to the clothes?
Right.
What?
Yeah,
what case is that?
You know, the one with Bill Paxton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. To explain it,
I got his autograph on that one.
That was a good. We should have taken like maybe a poster from Twister and a pen, and seen if he would have, you know, signed it. That would be something. No one would believe it.
No, they definitely wouldn't.
But we went to this case, and if you haven't seen it, watch the video before this one.
You have to watch it.
You got to watch that video.
You must.
You have to.
Yes.
You have to.
Absolutely.
All the way till the end.
All the way to the end.
You won't be disappointed.
The end is the best part. Like when the VAPI logo pops up and the music fades out. You don't want to miss that.
It's over with.
But anyway, we went to this case where there was a woman who was carrying ghost twins. Or she believed she was carrying ghost twins and that the father was the deceased Bill Paxton.
Yes, the actor. Yes.
And we kind of wondered how this could have happened. But she mentioned that he would take off his clothes. And her son saw him sitting on the bed in his undergarments.
Right.
And we wondered when he took off his clothes, what happened to them.
I don't know. They weren't... I mean, she's not walking around tripping over ghost clothes.
Right.
So they've got to go somewhere.
Exactly.
You know, there's got to be somewhere that they.
But she could have just put them in her drawer, you know.
The ghost clothes?
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose that's true.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have taken up much room.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't even have to open the door. You just put them in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right through it.
Yeah. Why bother
Toss it
even
in there.
folding it? Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's true, but I don't know.
I gotta throw a theory out here about that.
Yes.
About the whole like clothes things. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Now this is gonna be all over the place, and this might not even be coherent at all. A lot of the things I say aren't very coherent.
Let's hear it.
But
Throw it out there.
Okay, so we live on this plane. You know what I'm saying? They live on like, what happens if like there's another plane, but it's like kind of parallel to ours?
Right.
It's extremely similar. You know what I'm saying? But it's not 100% the same. It's like a, I can't describe. It's a different plane.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And like sometimes like it goes back to the veil. You know, when the veil's thinnest.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, you know, if they took off, you know, like their ghost jacket, you know, and then it's left in our plane, you know. Imagine like how much money you could get for selling that. You know,
I
what
know.
I mean? Like
Oh,
Plato's
actually
Closet, you know.
appeared.
Ghost clothes on
Yeah.
eBay.
If you could get a hold of them. That's true.
Uh-huh.
Well, they
I mean,
appeared as real clothes.
right. Then how would you say it's a ghost clothes?
I don't even know.
You
I
can
don't
get
even know
it
how it's
dated.
gonna work.
You get it dated. I mean, if you got, you know,
That
George
is
Washington
true.
leaves his wig on the bedpost.
Yeah,
Go get it dated.
Somebody's having George Washington's baby.
I'd like to.
We need
Yeah.
I'd like to hang out with George Washington. I think that'd be a cool ghost to hang out with.
That would be, and that's a good question right there. What ghost would you like to hang out with? If you
Yeah.
could?
That's a really good one.
But before we get to that, though, I just want to throw in one more thing. a lot of times these ghosts that appear are transparent, or reportedly transparent.
Right.
Right? So wouldn't their clothes be transparent?
You would think so.
So I mean, it's not like you could wear them.
Right.
It's
So
not
why,
like a real person could put on ghost clothes because you'd see through them, right?
so why
Right.
isn't their blood transparent?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, somebody had said something at one time, I don't know whether it was in a book that I was reading, but they were talking about how blood has special properties. That blood contains iron, that iron contains certain, like, spiritual and metaphysical properties, so that wherever it is on Earth or in the United States where blood is shed, a great amount of blood, it actually attracts negative spirits and demons to that spot.
Mm-hmm.
They're attracted to the iron that remains in the ground because you've essentially gone back to the ground by bleeding into it.
Right.
So maybe it has something to do with the fact that it has those special properties that allows it to stay or reappear on our plane where it's been shed.
That's true.
You see?
That's true. And there's also been a lot of reports of ghosts that people have seen as being solid figures.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
they didn't even know they were ghosts.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like that. Yeah. The one that I saw was like a solid figure, and in retrospect, thinking back to it, the way that the light hit him and everything, I could say, yeah, maybe that maybe it was a little bit different. But at the time,
Right.
it was automatically like, what the hell is this guy doing out here in the middle of the night?
What was
You
that?
know?
What was that? Did you hear about that story about the one she saw? Well, you can read about it in the Ghost to Yorktown on a tour guide, and that
We're
book is
not.
for sale on Amazon.
Yeah, we're not going to tell you.
Well, I have the inside scoop. Spill it.
So yeah, what you
But anyway,
briefly,
you can,
the ghost
people.
the ghost that you saw was
Yeah, now
in Yorktown.
tying into Christmas a little bit, when I was about 16 or 17 years old, I was driving through that exact spot down in Yorktown, right next to the National Cemetery that's down there off of Cook Road. And there was this it was Christmas Eve, there was this very odd blue flash of like lightning inside the car up near the rearview mirror. And, of course, nothing we'd ever seen before. And we were both kind of stunned by what we'd seen. We knew it was something paranormal, but, you just kind of brush it off. So many years later, this happened to be about 3 or 4 years ago. It was late one night, and I was driving down there. Yorktown was always one of those places I went to think. So I needed to go down, kind of clear my head, think a little bit. And I'm driving down this road. I was the only car on the road at that time. And on that particular stretch of Cook Road, there's no lights out there, very few lights, I should say, and it was quite deserted. So I'm driving down there, and right in that exact spot again, I noticed my headlights hit this guy standing on the side of the road, and he was facing my car coming toward him. Looked like he was just looking directly at me, but he was standing there with his arms limp at his sides and his head kind of cocked a little bit to one side. And he had a dark blue uniform on with a single row of black brass buttons. And he had something white on his head that appeared to me like a turban. Like I immediately thought of Punjab on that movie Annie, because he used to have that fabric wrapped around the top of his head. And my first thought was, what in the hell is this guy doing out here hitchhiking or standing here in the middle of the night? Because it's not a road you ever see anybody walking down, daytime or nighttime. Certainly nobody hitchhikes. There were no other cars even stopped by the road. But, as I watched and I got past him, I kind of leaned to look in my rearview mirror so that I could have a good angle of this guy where he was standing, and there was nothing there. So, and immediately I knew that there was something a little bit strange about what I had just witnessed, and I called my father. That cemetery we used to call the Confederate Cemetery. So I always assumed that there was a bunch of Confederates buried there. But when I called my father, he said, "You saw a Union soldier with a head wound." And he described that in that day they used to layer up all of the white fabric. It wasn't just a single layer. And he said, if you look online, you could probably find the exact uniform that the guy had on. And sure enough, I looked online. It was a Union infantryman who had that very plain blue uniform on. And I was, really stunned by this. And I said, well, you know, isn't it only Confederates buried there? He said, no, there actually are Union soldiers buried in that graveyard as well. So it all just kind of fell together and made perfect sense. And then I thought about that blue flash of light in the car all those years ago and wondered if that spirit, if it was the same spirit then that I had seen, you know, seen a couple years ago. And it's kind of sad that he's hanging out there still.
That's true. And you wonder if he took off the bandage and laid it down, would it still be there?
Yeah.
And would blood drip on the ground and remain?
Yeah, and if he took off his uniform, would he be naked underneath?
And would his uniform be marketable?
How much might you
You
get on
get a pretty
eBay?
penny for that one.
You know, that's also another question, like, if you could convince him to take off his uniform,
That's exactly what I was just thinking.
you know, like,
got
how much
out.
would a ghost nude be worth? You know what I mean?
What do you
much
mean,
would
like
it
a
take?
picture?
Yeah, like a ghost nude, like,
Sir, can you take off your clothes, please?
yeah, be like, or not even like a ghost nude, like, just like a picture of a shirtless ghost.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
would he be like, could you see through him, or like, you know what I mean?
I
I think you'd
know,
still see
yeah.
ghost nipples.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Then-
Is that what you're getting at?
that's
We don't want to go
it's
too
just
farther.
laying right out
you know,
there.
let's stop
Then
the
why can't you
waste.
see his chest through the jacket? If the jacket's transparent and he takes off the jacket and you can see his chest, why wouldn't you see his chest through the jacket?
Well, and that
You know what I'm saying?
that's a good question. Now, in this case, he wasn't really transparent at all. You know, I could see it was a dark blue uniform. I could see the brass buttons. It was, at first glance, it just registered that this was a normal person standing by the side of the road. So, you know, if you're in that situation and you see a ghost and it is transparent, look really hard and see if you see nipples and contact us because we want to know.
Get a picture.
Right.
Get a
Totally.
picture.
Get video, get something.
I mean, you think of how much a picture of any ghost would be worth, though. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
who can really
Especially
say
in
they
that
have
form.
a picture of a ghost?
They're-
You know what
Right.
I mean?
That's right.
That's true.
I mean, like, picture just like him just striking a pose. You know what I mean?
Like on a chaise lounge, you know, like the little girl from Titanic.
Yeah.
See, but the thing is, no one would believe it. Like,
No,
if you got
no.
that picture, that's
No
what I'm
one
saying.
believe
Like,
it.
no matter what you do, if you get a video, a picture, whatever, full-blown apparition, you show that and say, look what I caught. No one's going to believe it.
No.
Everyone's going to be like, oh, photoshopped.
Oh yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, they will.
There's no proving anything.
Yeah,
Can't
that's
do it.
right. Not even sure why we do this.
It's
If you
kind
can't prove anything.
it's kind of fun.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's definitely fun.
Yeah, look at who we encountered.
I
There
like
you
I like the drives and the food.
Yeah.
In the gas station.
He's just here for the
We
food.
should get VAPI shirts that say, I'm here for the sheets. Or I do this for sheets. You know what I mean?
Hey,
Or
that's a
ice.
sponsorship.
There you go.
Ice. Ice.
There we go.
I do this for the ice.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
It could say, why do I ghost hunt on the front? And then when you turn around, it says, for the ice. Hashtag VAPI.
Yeah.
That's our challenge that we've had, is that every time we go to a place that has an ice box out in front of it, we take a picture with the ice box. And why do we do that?
We don't know.
We don't really know.
We don't know,
And
but we do it.
Yeah, and it's morphed into more than just an ice box now.
Yep.
Now it's anything that has the word ice on it, like a 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew Ice.
Mountain Dew ice.
They're
Yep.
posing next to it.
Right.
I think
Icy
that-
hot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
trash
Empty
cans.
ice.
Trash cans too. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't even have ice
Yeah.
on them.
If they have ice in them, though.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
Someone threw away an ice bag.
Yeah, and there's been other things, David, that you have posed in front of too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't have anything to do with us.
Yeah.
So
Right.
It's got
we're
more
not,
to do with fire.
we're not sure where this is going.
And,
The paranormal.
Yeah. We're not sure where it's going, but it's morphing into something greater than ourselves.
But,
We're gonna have to
yeah.
find something to pose in front of.
I know.
And God, we're gonna have to find something.
I
And
know.
we're not sure what the challenge is. Like, I guess it's how many ice boxes you can pose with in one trip. Like, in one outing. You know what I mean? From the time you leave your house to the time you get back, how many icebox pictures can you get?
Object
Right.
or structure. Here
Yeah.
we go. Gotta figure it out.
That's
Right.
right. Yeah.
We gotta go on a field trip one day, you know, and just hit
Yeah.
as many as we can. Not even on an investigation. Just hitting up icebox.
Just spend all weekend.
Yeah, all weekend.
Driving around,
Yeah.
hitting up iceboxes.
Yep. And we gotta tag them. Put like a sticker on each one. You know, like a little gangs, like a little, you know, gangs used to put them on telephone
Yeah, but
poles.
it's a ghost.
Yeah, it's a ghost up there. It's our logo. Yeah.
Throwing up the V.
Yeah, and it's got to say hashtag VAPIC.
Exactly.
It
Yes.
does.
Yeah, because people would
I
wonder.
think we definitely need to do that. So those shirts will be coming soon, and we'll
Yep.
have them for sale. If you do the challenge, maybe you could win one.
There you
Maybe
go.
Ah, yeah.
If we ever get around to making them. But
We need to go do the road trip before we start making them, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people actually know.
oh yeah,
Yeah, that's
Get a,
true.
get a hype train created
There
for
we
the
go.
shirt.
That's right.
Yeah.
do the whole campaign for it. That'd
Yeah.
be good. But I guess being that the focus is around the time of year, the season. Let's say, back to your question earlier, you had a good one. Let's say if you could if you could have any ghost over for Christmas, all right, what ghost would it be?
You're asking me directly?
Everybody.
I almost
let's
said.
start with you though, because you
I
had the
almost said Wayne Gretzky, and then I realized he's still alive. So. Yeah, I realized he was still alive, and then I was like, wait, no, he's not dead. Gosh,
I
think about
I
that
have to
one.
say Tupac. You know what I mean? That would be really cool. No. And the reason why, that would be really cool. I mean, that, like, imagine the conversation. You know what I mean? Like, that would be so interesting.
Mm.
I don't really know why I said that.
Right.
That was just the first thing that popped in my head.
Right. I mean, I
But
could see
I
him.
thought
like,
of
kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I
thought
mean?
of it just a minute or two ago.
Yeah.
There's smoke
For
coming
some
out of
reason,
them, too.
Tupac. Yeah.
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 Yeah, because I mean, of all the people, the founding fathers, and the presidents, and the people who were generals in World War I and the Civil War. Tupac
I wanna see
would probably
Tupac.
be a good conversation out
I
of
feel
all
it
of
would be.
them.
I feel like it would be.
You don't have to listen to those boring war stories.
Right.
Or Jesus. That seriously,
There you go.
that would be good.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be cool.
That would be a good one.
Yeah, that would be
that's.
a good one.
Would that be considered a ghost though?
That's a good.
I don't
That's a
know.
whole nother conversation
Yeah.
right there.
That
That's
is.
a whole nother
That is.
conversation.
I think that might be spirit,
Yeah.
but not ghost. Because there is a difference between them.
Yeah.
So I think that would be more of a spirit. But you know what I was thinking is it would be cool to have over one of the women who was killed by Jack the Ripper. Because
There
if
we
you
go.
think about
That
it,
would be cool.
yeah,
I
you
didn't
could
even think
find
about
out who actually killed her.
Yep.
And you could solve this huge
Brilliant.
mystery
Yep.
that's been going on for so long now.
But no one would believe you. The ghost of this girl told me Jack the Ripper killed her, and this is who he is. People be like, nah. As soon as you mention ghost, like you're nuts.
Well,
You're
you'd have
nuts.
to videotape her.
Even then, they'd be like Photoshop, special
Yeah.
effects, good CGI. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's no way.
Well, the couples in Zodiac.
Yeah.
But on the bright
That's
side,
true.
you got to talk to a ghost.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you know
I
it.
think George
you know who Jack the
Washington,
Ripper
though.
is.
I do.
What?
No, I mean you would know if you
Oh.
talked
Oh,
to
I
this
thought you
girl.
said it. You know who it is.
At least
I'm like, Linda, you know something I don't know. Gosh.
At least you'd have that peace of mind.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But George Washington would be a cool one.
Imagine
You
having
would.
them in the same
Yeah.
room though. Jack the Ripper and the woman he killed.
Oh,
That'd be something.
That'd be quite a
Could he
Christmas.
kill her again?
Probably not, but he might chase her around a lot and try.
She's
I'm just
trying to get
picturing
back at
that.
him.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah, that's
picturing
pretty
that. Like,
deep.
could they fight?
I don't know.
I'd be pretty angry at this point.
Well, there
I
are,
know.
battles that
Isabel being
replay
everything
themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I just
right.
throw like a ghost gun. Be like, Merc on him.
You'd have,
Choke slam him.
you'd have to talk to Ghost into leaving you his gun then.
Oh man, that's
Maybe
like
his
a
shirt
whole
while he's
thing.
at it.
Yeah, so I can sell it. I mean, that's like involving like a whole bunch of stuff. Like you're gonna have to get out the Ouija board and like all kinds of stuff to conjure up some some stuff, and then with my luck using that, I'd get a demon,
Right.
Yeah.
and then I'd get possessed,
Yeah,
and that'd be even more messed up than I am now.
Yeah.
So I'd be
That's right.
screwed.
So Megan, what do you think?
I was. I'm kind of going with you on the Jack the Ripper thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
That's really
That'd be
interesting
cool.
to me.
yeah. Yeah,
Or
that
the
would be pretty
Zodiac.
Cool. Yeah, solve a major crime
Yeah.
from history.
Yep.
You know?
The Zodiac Killer?
Mhm.
Yeah.
never
They
caught
said
him.
that was Ted Cruz.
Did they?
Yeah, there was a meme going around the internet. They were joking it was Ted Cruz.
Is it really?
No, it's not actually Ted
I was
Cruz.
gonna say,
No.
I think
Like,
Ted-
wait
No.
a second.
No, it was a joke. They made a whole bunch of memes about him. He was they were talking about he was the Zodiac Killer, and I was like,
Oh,
I'm
jeez.
pretty sure the dates here don't even add up.
Probably
when the Zodiac Killer was killing, I'm pretty sure was he even alive? Was Ted Cruz even alive? Or
I
was
don't even know who
I
that
don't-
is.
Ted Cruz, he was a Republican candidate for president a few years back.
Oh, okay.
Pretty sure it
Yeah,
was,
I'm
yeah.
surprised they're not blaming.
Oh yeah, I know who you're
Trump.
talking about. The guy that
Right.
he did that long speech against like the Obamacare. He did
That
like a
was for you,
72-hour
liberals.
speech.
Trump's the Zodiac.
Yeah, Trump's the Zodiac. Play that
Missed
guy
that
for
one.
everything.
Yep. He was
Oh,
Jack the
boy.
Ripper too.
Yep.
Who'd you
Dead,
meet?
now he's president.
Me?
Yeah,
Probably Elvis Presley.
Oh,
I didn't think about that. That'd be kind of
Yeah.
cool though. That'd
Mhm.
be kind of cool.
maybe.
Yeah, I think more so
Janis
than
Joplin.
I mean more so than gaining
There we
information.
go.
I'd rather him just if he appeared with a ghost guitar,
Jim
of course.
Morrison.
Rather just kind
Oh.
of sit around the tree and like sing some Christmas songs with Elvis. You know.
Tupac and Elvis.
There you have it.
And
They could make a
Morrison.
duet. Look at
They
that.
could. They
oh
could.
man.
See, I was going to ask you what you would get out of that, because I mean, information, like we're talking about people that would be able to provide in ghost form, like information of some sort or something that would be, vital or would uplift mankind, and you're like, Elvis.
Yeah, I just want to sing around the Christmas tree.
Yeah, I mean, you could go out and get an album of Elvis, and you don't have to conjure his spirit to do so. There's nobody else that
Nah,
You would-
it'd be Elvis, I think. Still, no one's gonna believe me. You know what I mean? Like if I do pick somebody that's got like information, no one's gonna believe that I got it from a ghost, except for members of this team
unless
that believe anything. You know what I mean?
you get the ghost to tell you something that nobody else would ever know.
That's true.
See what I mean?
Mm.
That's true.
Mm.
You could
Like-
get
like-
the ghost to tell you something.
Like Blackbeard.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when his treasure's out or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
something
what
along
you
That's
those-
a good
There
one
you
too.
go.
That's probably
I
a
didn't
good
even think
one.
about
That's
that.
a very
Yeah.
good
I'll
one.
probably change my
Then we
answer.
could all be rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
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 Be happy. Hey.
I'm not sure he'd tell us where his treasure is.
Yeah.
He might though. We could publicize. We could just talk about how Blackbeard changed their lives and make him into like a good person.
Right.
Even though he killed like a whole bunch of people, but it's.
That was a long time
Oh,
ago.
yeah. it's a long
Actually,
time.
there's a lot of sources that
He's
say he
recovered.
didn't kill anybody.
Really.
Yep. There's a lot of sources that say that he had other people, his men killed people, but he never ever killed a single person.
So, okay.
Sounds like Manson.
okay.
I'm not sure if that's true or
Yeah.
not, but
Exactly.
yeah.
So he didn't do anything
Yeah, he had a
wrong.
whole cult.
Yeah, maybe he did.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be.
Charles Manson. Okay.
Yeah,
one-
not Marilyn
Not
Manson.
Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, as soon as you said Manson, I was thinking Marilyn Manson's out here killing people. What happened? I was like,
There's
what?
a ghost for your Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
I mean, Marilyn Manson scares me just like as it is.
Just
you
looking
know what I
at
mean?
him, I
Yeah.
know.
Nothing against him, but I mean, he's kind of this freaky dude.
Yeah, and that's coming
Yeah.
from the guy who listens to that
Oh,
little
yeah.
Lucifer
I don't listen to him. No.
stuff.
Oh no, that was Lil Uzi Vert. This random question just popped in my head. I think somebody has asked this before because it's too good of a question for my brain to think of. Like I think it was Jeff. What would happen if an alien came to Earth and then died?
Yes.
You asked
yeah.
that,
Right.
didn't you?
Right. Yeah, that is a
What
good
would
one.
happen?
Because you wonder with all these cases that you investigate, and you go into these ones that are so weird, so unexplained. They're not like the typical hauntings, but they're like shadow people, or they're like lights in the sky and things like that. But you wonder if some of these cases where people think they have ghosts in their house, if they are ghosts, but they're actually ghosts of aliens. Because all the aliens that supposedly visited Earth, at one point, one of them had to die here. They had to. It's like any trip you go on. Like somebody died on that trip at some point in time. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, like, think about
What?
it.
Every trip you go on, somebody dies?
Not necessarily
I don't
with
want to
you.
go on a trip
I'm
with you
gonna
anymore.
say, I'm leaving tomorrow. to go to Florida. I'm not trying to die.
Not with you on the trip, but you think like you go to a place, like you take a trip to a place, somebody died there, you know what I mean? Like somebody took that trip, went out there, and, you know, at some point in time, someone died along the way or died in a car accident or something like that.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So one of these aliens had to at some point die on their way to Earth or, you know, while they were here on Earth. Especially with all the farmers out there shooting at them.
Oh, the Grand Canyon.
Farmers, yeah. Roswell.
Yeah, exactly, Roswell.
Roswell.
I think that wasn't at the Grand Canyon, was it?
No.
What happened at the Grand Canyon?
Nothing. But a lot of people have died there.
Yeah, exactly.
I was
like, what?
I thought Megan had some insider
Inside
information.
I wish
It's like
I
black
did.
vans outside right now. Oh man.
Something going on.
Yeah, especially after he says, what happened there? And she's like, nothing.
Yeah. You got something to tell
I don't
us?
know anything.
No, Roswell. They were just talking about that a couple of days ago, where they said that there were like 3 or 4 aliens inside the craft, and a couple of them were pretty much mangled on impact. But there was one alien that did survive, and they took him, and I guess like White Plains, New Mexico, or someplace.
Yes,
or,
it was. I just watched a documentary on this.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
they
White
took him
Plains.
and kept him, and evidently he died in 1952. And I think that one of our previous members probably said his name was J-Rod.
J-Rod! Remember J-Rod?
I think that they might have nicknamed him J-Rod. I think this is the same one she's referring to. But he died in 1952, so he was actually on Earth here. But what about Roswell? I mean, there's got to be a way that you can get to that land to investigate if there's alien spirits still left over there.
Right.
Do aliens have spirits?
Wait, so
I don't know. I would think so.
You would think so, because animals do.
Good point.
Yeah.
Right?
Animals
So
do,
if animals
yeah.
have spirits, why wouldn't the aliens
Yeah.
have spirits?
And there's got to be spirits of Bigfoot around too.
What if
Yeah, Bigfoot's
Bigfoot
a
is an
ghost.
alien and Bigfoot came to Earth and died? Would the ghost of Bigfoot, who's an alien, be walking around in the woods? I've said that before. It
I
sounds
think so.
familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, you said that before.
Let's go.
It's just as confusing now as it ever was.
But yeah, if you think about it, if clothes can appear and guns can appear, then even if an alien didn't have a spirit, it should still be able to appear.
Should
Right.
be able to.
Because they have to have some kind of
Residual?
intelligence. They obviously have intelligence, too.
Yeah.
And if they have intelligence, they can probably, you know, experience fear and
Right.
emotion and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So that alone, that emotion itself should cause them to reappear. There's a lot of animals, a lot of animal spirits that have been seen as well.
I saw my mom's dog, actually.
Yeah.
It was very strange. I saw a German Shepherd running, and I thought it was a hunting dog. And
Yeah.
I was going to try to find it. And it looked exactly like Gretchen. My mom had just put her down.
Oh.
And I saw the dog, and I was like, and it disappeared.
Huh.
I thought it was a hunting dog, and I was about to say, hey, get off the land.
Yeah, yeah.
Or see if it had a tracking thing on it.
Yeah.
Right. Take it
It was
inside.
gone. I couldn't find her.
Hmm.
It's weird.
Yeah.
My mom saw my old cat out there. They're both buried out there.
Yeah.
At the farm.
Huh.
My mom even put food out for the cat.
Oh, that's
It was a black cat.
a little weird.
Yeah. But the black cat disappeared.
Hmm.
Just like Gretchen disappeared.
That's really
The big
strange.
German Shepherd.
Yeah, it's almost like they
Not a
just come
hunting
back
dog.
to say, "Hey, I'm still around."
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it was clear as
I'm
day.
not gone.
A dog. It was like,
Hmm.
it was wild.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
I mean,
really
I really
odd.
thought it was a hunting dog. I couldn't
Yeah.
find it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they do say cats and dogs often have spirits. I haven't ever heard anybody say they have a spirit of a bird in their house or anything.
Yes,
like
actually I
that
got a
nature.
call from a woman recently that saw well, it sounded more like it was in the sense of a fairy, but she described it as a bird.
Oh.
She said she saw this, laid down just before sunset, woke up, and she looked over above her dresser, and there was this bird that appeared to be glowing, and it flew up and disappeared into the ceiling.
Oh yeah, you told me
Yeah.
about that.
And
yeah.
then just recently her son talked about seeing these
So what are
glowing
fairies?
people. So fairies are
Fairies
considered
ghosts?
elementals.
elementals, like
Yeah.
gnomes and pixies and all
One
that
with the
weird-
earth.
Oh yeah, I'll believe that.
Yeah, there's different theories
I
about
don't
them.
believe that at all.
Different theories about them, yeah.
Oh come on.
Some people believe that they come in from another plane of existence, and can go back and forth, kind of like ghosts. Other people believe that they are actual figures that live on the earth, but they live out in the woods.
Okay. Okay.
And there's actually ways you can attract fairies if you're interested. You can take you can build a little house, and perhaps they'll come and live in it. But the house has to be
I love
What?
Perhaps.
a little house.
Perhaps.
A little house.
So like, are there just fairy families just like driving around?
Some of
just,
them are flying around looking for homes.
just looking for
You know what I
houses?
mean?
There are
So-
fairy houses.
There are,
And
but the fairy house has to be
There's
built
fairy
out of
gardens.
right.
Yes,
Those are cool though.
I know.
Those
You
are
have to
really
build it
cool.
out of all natural materials, though.
Mm-hmm.
The fairy house. If you put anything synthetic in there, they won't come and live in it.
Oh man, so you can't buy it from like Walmart or something.
No, you gotta
So you already know
buy
that's
it
got
with stuff that's
chemicals
found in
and stuff
nature, and it's got to be stuff that died naturally, or that like branches that fell out. You can't go like breaking down branches off the trees
Yeah, they don't
and
like that.
pulling stuff up. It's got to be leaves that you find. It's got to be things that you find lying around in nature, and you build this house completely out of that.
But what happens if my friend the day before broke off like wood and stuff, and then I didn't know it?
Then you're good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
So like,
As
as long
long-
as I don't know it,
as
as
long
long
as
as I
you're-
don't do it.
yeah.
then. Okay. Okay. I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
I
as
get
long
it.
as,
Okay.
you know, it's
Okay.
kind of like you're just an innocent bystander. Like,
Oh, okay,
all right,
okay.
someone else already broke this off. You know what I mean? It's like if somebody stole a gallon of milk from a store and left it on the curb, and you came walking along, and you're like, hey, I really need some milk.
I'm picking it up. That's $2.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
I'm
Yeah.
drinking that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As long as it's not
It's
open.
kind of like that.
Oh.
You didn't steal it. You just found it on
Yeah.
the curb. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can't go to jail for shoplifting.
But like,
Probably a gallon of milk isn't a good example. But, you know, something that somebody stole and left,
Like a
and then
car.
you found it.
like a Maserati or something.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to find one of those, though. You
I
know?
might.
No one will believe that. That's like the ghost picture. They'd be more
Somebody
likely
just
to believe
left
the
it here,
ghost
so I'm going to
picture.
take it. That's how that works.
Yeah. I found
Well,
this
it's parked
Maserati
right here,
sitting
they're
on the
left
corner.
not unless it's associated with some major crime, like somebody was killed in it and there's
Right.
blood all over the front
Hey.
seat, then they might leave it.
It's a Maserati. As long as
Yeah, I
I
don't
just
think
put
you
some
wanna
bleach
take
on
it.
it, and there could be a ghost in there though.
Could be
There
ghost
could
blood.
be.
Yeah, it could be ghost blood. Go away.
Maybe it'll disappear.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
only appears on Christmas.
Imagine having that.
Yeah.
Would it be worth it?
Yeah.
Like
why not?
having a Maserati just one day of the year, like it's gonna have all blood over it. You know, like how would you explain that to people? Like,
Does it have to be a Maserati? Though, or
it
could
may
be
it ain't
something
be
else?
anything.
Yeah,
I
Like
wouldn't
a-
have to
anything.
explain it to anybody because nobody would ride in my Maserati. Like, I'm not letting anybody get in
Dang.
there.
Okay. Gosh. Okay, Linda.
You can ride the Escape. you can ride the Ford Escape sitting out front. Nobody's getting in the Maserati.
Well, I mean, what you do is you just sell it. And then buy one that
That's
doesn't have
true.
blood in it. Don't tell anybody, because they
Oh,
won't
yeah,
find out.
yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? They're gonna look.
Yeah.
It's gonna look fine.
Yeah.
After you sold it, you know, if blood appears in there.
Yeah,
I don't have to
that's
tell
not
you
my
it's blood.
problem.
Yeah.
That's your problem now.
That's true.
Right.
That's
And he-
true.
and
I
even
didn't
if you
have it when it
told
did
him-
that. I don't know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
It's all on the Carfax.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
exactly.
I can't think of any law that says you have to tell somebody something is haunted. You know what I mean? Because that would be saying that there are ghosts, and they won't admit to that.
A house, in some states, you have to tell them, you have to reveal
You have to
the
just-
presence of paranormal activity.
Yep.
And
Really?
you have to reveal that somebody has died within the house, usually back for a certain amount of time, like within the past couple years, if
Right.
somebody's died in the house. That's not all states. That's only some states. California's big on that. California, you have to tell them everything. Out front, right
Look what
out.
state it is.
Yeah, and you have to tell them
That was a
everything,
sneak diss
you know.
right at you, California. Not too much of a sneak diss.
But yeah, you do have to actually reveal that there is certain unexplained phenomena that occurs within the house.
See, that's interesting though, because I've heard where you have to tell people if somebody was killed in there. I don't know what the difference is. I guess if why you would have to tell them someone was killed, but you don't have to tell them if someone died in some states, because it would seem like the same thing, unless the killer wasn't caught and like, hey, there's a killer in this area that killed somebody in this house. He might be back. Do you still want to buy it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That type of thing. But if the killer's caught, what's the difference if the person that is in there was killed or just died of natural causes, unless it's due to the activity that it leaves behind?
Well, and I think in most of the cases, you don't have to reveal that somebody was actually murdered there or whether they died of natural causes. You just have to reveal that somebody died in the house.
Okay.
See,
Now
I didn't
you're
know
not
the method,
allowed.
okay.
Now you're not allowed to tell them if somebody died of AIDS or HIV in the house. You're not allowed to reveal that.
I heard.
Isn't that funny?
I thought if it was a violent crime, you had to tell them though.
No, I think it's even natural causes in some states. Like I say,
Right.
every state is different, but you
But
know.
how can they prove? And this may sound like a crazy question. How can they prove that there's paranormal activity going on in the house? You know what I mean? Like, think about these cases that we go to. Like, we could hear all these kinds of reports about what's happening and go there and find nothing.
Mm-hmm.
How do these people... Why would they tell somebody there's paranormal activity in their house? I mean, I don't...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like...
Well, they don't have to. They don't have to prove it. They just have to say that it occurs.
Yeah, but who's going to know?
I would. I mean, if I was selling a house, I would leave a note in the kitchen drawer that says, "Hi, hope you enjoy the house. You might hear footsteps at night. You might."
Don't you have to tell them
experience
before
this,
they
you
bought
might-"
it?
Well, not in the state of Virginia, you don't.
Oh
Not in the
man.
Commonwealth
Yeah.
of Virginia.
Imagine finding that after you bought the house.
The note?
Yeah, you
Oh,
even know.
man!
Like if your shit goes missing, then look here.
You got some
Yeah.
goblins.
And leave a... leave like
Gnomes are taking everything.
a photocopy of
fairies.
the VAPI report.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, these guys said it was haunted. They're like, oh, it's just them. They don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Imagine if elves, like Santa's elves, are really goblins.
They might be.
Or like gnomes.
I don't trust those bastards. Like elves.
Okay.
I know. I've looked at them. I know.
Okay.
Yes, now we can't touch this elf back here, but this is the elf on the shelf. It's an interesting thing because the elf on the shelf appeared one day. It just appeared.
I told you it's creepy.
Wait, what just appeared?
The elf on the shelf, it just appeared.
Wait, like that one?
Yeah. It was like Thanksgiving, right? It was like, and we were looking at the Christmas
There's a little
mouse.
person
I'm
that
not touching that.
These things were like $30. They were like too expensive to
Nope.
buy.
Yeah.
But we looked at it and it says, the elf on the shelf would appear around Thanksgiving and stay through Christmas. And it's the scout elf. It talks back to Santa Claus. It goes back to the North Pole every night. And it tells him if the kid's been good or bad. Right?
Oh,
So
man.
I went up to my dad's house and I was like, hey, I remember my niece used to have one of these things. Maybe he still has it, so I don't have to pay $30 for it. Well, he gave me an empty box. It has the book in it, but the elf wasn't there, right? So we're like, oh, we'll just take the book and at least read it. We come back here, right? And that next Monday, right up there above the window, this elf was sitting, peering down into the living room. Now, what was weird is I went up to it with an EMF detector because I was like, this is paranormal. And as soon as I put the EMF detector up towards the elf, it started going off.
Oh,
It started going off. Yeah, so
Maybe
we left it.
Annabelle?
We left it.
Oh.
The next day, the elf was in a different place.
What?
Yeah, last night before we went to sleep, the elf was sitting on the shelf above the TV,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And then today, perfect timing for the pub table.
It's in John Corey's lamp.
It is in John Corey's lamp. You remember John Corey?
I don't think anybody remembers.
Yeah, you remember him, the guy with he had the stun gun?
Oh, that guy.
Yeah!
Oh, God, that guy.
I wanted to meet him so bad.
Yeah, I
Oh,
love John Corey. He's a good
Oh, he
guy.
made that lamp?
He made
Yeah,
that
He
lamp.
made that lamp.
Oh.
Yep, he
What
did.
a guy.
Yep. Yep, that was John Corey's lamp. But the elf on the shelf. So, what we're going to do is we're going to set up surveillance on this elf one night. Leave a camera up
Mm-hmm.
and see how it actually moves from location to location.
Now that'll be
See if we can
fantastic.
catch it.
Yeah. Now you brought up an interesting theory about Santa Claus.
Oh, yep. What happens if Santa Claus is actually an alien?
Well, see, that makes a lot of
Imagine that.
sense because who lives at the North Pole?
Cravens.
Nobody can put up with that kind of cold.
Mm.
So if Santa is an alien, it's probably because he came from a planet that is colder than our own. So
Mm.
he's looking for a place on Earth that he can inhabit that
Mm-hmm.
would be more like acclimated to what he's used to, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So I
does
think
make
that makes
sense.
perfect sense. And
It
then
does
he's
make
got
sense.
elves. I mean,
So
you
like
know.
little minions.
Little
or
green men.
whatever.
Yeah, maybe they're green.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Usually like
orange like Oompa Loompas.
Maybe.
Yeah.
little Donald Trumps.
Little teeny.
The little Donald Trump trolls that they have at 7-Eleven now with there.
Just
Yeah.
They're
Like,
making
imagine-
Christmas great again. Indeed they did.
But that's very possible. I mean, it
I
could
didn't
be
think
that.
about it.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah, he could be an alien. I mean, he flies around.
Yeah.
He's got
It's a
some magic
spaceship.
of some sort. It's, you know,
What happens if he's a witch, like a warlock?
yeah, that could be too.
Oh man.
The reindeers are his little witches.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of deer, there's a story that comes from another Christmas-related haunting. And it's strange. What was the name of that lake that I was talking about?
It was Lake Drummond,
Lake Drummond.
and the man was Blackjack.
Blackjack. I believe he was. And he's a hermit. Was a hermit that lived down there in the swampy area by Lake Drummond. And is this down near where the Great Dismal Swamp?
Yeah, I got something to say after you finish that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Glad you brought that up.
this man was out hunting, and just a little backstory: the Indians, and I'll say Indians because I've actually spoke to the Powhatans around here, and they prefer to be called Indians than Native Americans. I never knew that. Did you know that? I always thought Indian was an offensive term, but the Powhatans actually prefer to be called Indians rather
Really?
than Native Americans. Yeah. So anyway, the
You
Indian.
sure you actually?
Oh yeah,
spoke
yeah.
to
This
a-
came straight from Jamestown. Yeah. Yeah, the Jamestown settlement.
He's right. It's confusing, but he's right.
He is a.
Yeah, yeah.
You actually
Yeah.
talked to somebody and they said it?
Yeah. So he was down there, and the Indians, they talked about this great white deer, and this deer was protected. They talked about spirit animals throughout the woods and such. And this man, he saw this great white deer while he was out hunting with his dog, and he took a point-blank shot at it, and nothing happened. The deer, he knew he hit this deer right in the chest, and the deer just ran off and disappeared. Well, he continued hunting, and as the day went on, at some point he saw this big red deer, and he actually ended up shooting it and killing it. And he dragged it back with his dog, took it in his boat, back up to his cabin, and went to go and prepare it. And the dog, when he came back outside, the deer and the dog were gone. He had left it outside to go in and change into dry clothes. And the deer and the dog were gone. So he followed this trail of blood down to where he kept his boat, and they disappeared into the lake. Well, he goes, and as he's standing there, he sees this big light appear, like kind of over the lake. It kind of comes up from the lake and goes up into the sky, and it's gone, this giant light. Well, the man gets in his boat and he goes to his closest neighbor, and he tells him about his experience. And the next day is Christmas. The hermit goes back to his shack after, warming up over the night and stuff. And the guy decides to go, the neighbor decides to go and check on him.
Yeah,
And
he
he goes
said he had
and
a bad dream. He had a premonition, a dream that
That's
night
right.
that something's wrong with the guy.
That's right, a premonition. And he decides he's going to go check on him. So he goes over on Christmas Day, and the fire's not lit in his cabin. The guy's not there. So he follows these footprints down to where the guy keeps his boat, and they disappeared into the lake. And once again, he saw this strange blue light. This guy saw it this time, I guess, coming up out of the lake and, kind of hovering for a while and disappearing into the sky. But
And now he sees the ghost dog and the ghost deer out there near the lake where
hunters out there in the Dismal Swamp on Christmas Day, around Christmas time. They see the ghost of this dog, and they see the ghost of this big red deer. And hunters have actually taken shots at this deer, and the shots just went through him, and the deer runs off into the woods.
Yeah.
So we've got ghost animals. We got lights in the sky.
Yeah.
What do we think's going on here? This could be a combination of two things.
Aliens.
It could be.
Right.
Easy. Aliens.
Yeah. Yeah. My theory was that maybe the aliens, for some reason, wanted the dead deer, the freshly killed deer. Maybe they came up into the man's yard while he was inside changing into dry clothes, scared off the dog, right? Scared the dog away, and they took the deer and dragged it back to the water where they could just toss it up on their alien ship and, have a Christmas feast. So maybe the dog just ran off. Maybe he didn't actually die
Maybe the aliens celebrate Christmas.
with deer.
Meat.
That could, yeah.
That answers a couple questions, I think.
But yeah, there's always lots of weird things that happen around the Great Dismal Swamp and Lake Drummond. There's lots of stories, and I know you said you had something that you wanted to, a story you wanted to tell about it.
Yeah, I think this was probably in the summertime this year, like August maybe. Me and a friend, we were canoeing down there at, it was like, we started out at, it was getting dark, and we always want to go like at night, canoeing at night. So, you know, gosh, I can't even talk. You know, like we had our headlamps and stuff, and we were going down the feeder ditch, and the feeder ditch goes to Lake Drummond at the very end of it. And we were down there, and like, I think it was probably 9 to 10-ish o'clock, somewhere around then. And like we just heard these voices, like down the feeder ditch, like off into the woods. And as far as I know, there's no houses, like, in there. You know what I mean? Like, that's just woods. And we heard, like, voices, but you couldn't understand what they were saying. It was just, like, murmurs. More like murmurs.
Yeah.
But you could definitely tell it was something. Like, it was definitely voices. And, like, I was starting to get freaked out. I turned to my friend. I was like, John, you hear that? And, like, you know, we sat there and listened for a little bit. And, like, yeah, he could hear it. And it was almost like, it was just weird. I had no idea what it was. We didn't see any lights or anything, so, like, I thought it was hunters at first, but then, like, as close as it was, you would have seen a light or something, you know what I mean?
Right.
And like, it's stupid for, like, people could say, you know, and I already know some people in the comments, oh, yeah, it was teenagers. Why would teenagers be in the middle of the woods? They'd have to cross the water to get on that side, then walk like a mile or two more into the woods. That doesn't make sense. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nobody does that.
Yeah. If you do that, you're weird.
Yeah.
You know, so...
Yeah. Well, I have an explanation for you.
Oh, man.
One of the things they said in that story about Blackjack was that now, to this day, you can hear him by the water, down there by Lake Drummond.
By the feeder ditch.
No, they didn't say that.
I'm pretty sure they did.
No, they didn't. They didn't say feeder ditch. No, but they say that he's constantly murmuring about the lights in the sky and about this white deer or something. That like you can hear him down there talking about it to this day.
Oh man, that could be a possible explanation for that.
There you go.
Yeah,
that could be. And you also wonder if the aliens, because they have something going on there, are creating these ghosts. These images of these ghosts to scare people away.
Oh man, now you're going to get into a whole other conversation with the government because the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers runs that. Look at that. They know it. Look at it. Yep.
So they took the deer to make people think the aliens took the deer.
Look at that. That's like a mini Area 51. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my gosh.
So we need to venture out perhaps into the Great Dismal Swamp before the weather gets warm and the snakes come out.
Absolutely.
Snakes are
I'll
always
venture
out.
a lot of places,
Two-legged
but I don't know
snakes.
about that. Like,
What?
Two-legged snakes.
The middle of the swamp. The creepy swamp with, like, slave ghosts and Indian ghosts.
Yes,
and,
everything.
Like, weird...
It's nice out there. It really is. It's nice out there.
And,
like, I've kayaked out there and canoed out there and nothing... I haven't seen anything except for that.
Nice until the aliens come and take you.
I think we need to venture into the
I'm okay with that. I'm okay as long as they bring me back, like, and then. But if they bring it back with like a gift or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll gladly
like a
give
baby?
them.
Like impregnation.
As long as it's not me. Because like
they're not gonna
they got some like
girlfriend.
Advanced like I would take an alien girlfriend. So you know.
So long as she's Republican, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Hey, but even if you don't get the gift, at least you got to take a ride on the spaceship, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot of people can say that.
As long as they don't wipe my mind, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And like,
you want to remember the ride.
Yeah, I kind of want a gift though.
They'll give you a microchip. They'll implant you.
I was going to say, they'll give you a gift.
They'll poke some needles in your eyeballs.
Imagine like if they gave you like the key to immortality or something. I don't want to be immortal though.
Yeah.
Because then you're gonna see like everybody dying around you.
I wouldn't want that.
No, imagine
I'm
like
not trying to live that long.
imagine if they gave you like this little. This is from like the Spiderwick Chronicles. Have y'all seen that?
Yeah.
Now we're probably gonna get sued over this comment in this video. We're gonna get sued right now. I'll tell you right now. I do not own this at all. Okay? They have, yeah. In the Spiderwick Chronicles, they have something called, I think, the Seeing Stone or something.
Yeah.
Like you could put your, like the little rock up to your face. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like see like the world. What happens if they gave me something like that? You could see like the ghosts and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, like
That
the
would be
13
dope.
Ghosts.
Yeah,
that
look
was
at
another
that.
movie, like the
That would
13
be
Ghosts, where they
cool.
put on the glasses and they could see the spirits, and they saw that one
would be
running down the
cool.
hallway. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
No,
The 13 Ghosts. That was a good movie.
I've heard of it though.
Yeah,
I've heard of that
they had
too.
these glasses where they could see ghosts,
That would be cool. I mean,
That's
that
what
would
we
really
need.
be cool.
Yeah.
and it's crazy because
Oh,
nothing's
man.
really happening. And then you put on these glasses and you look around and you see them like popping out at you. And,
Oh
Yeah.
man.
oh man, that was a good movie.
Then I could
Yeah.
be an actual psychic and not like a 99% of these phony
That's
psychics
right.
out
You have to
here.
put on your psychic glasses or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That
be
makes me
cool.
think of like those glasses on National Treasure that Benjamin Franklin had invented.
Yes.
Those glasses that you put them on, and then you could move these little levers and everything on the side, and it would make different, colored lenses come in front, and it makes you wonder if,
Well, is that
like
actually real?
you could have. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it
He
was
invented the
actually,
bifocal.
Yeah,
But
I knew
did.
that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
But
about
is that,
Yeah.
like, I know what you're talking about.
I don't know if it was actually real,
Or is it
but it
just a
makes you
movie?
wonder if he invented who he was.
That's my phone.
Oh,
Oh.
I thought for a second I was mine, and I was like, no, it's on my region.
But it makes you wonder if maybe some of the founding fathers or some of these people who were great inventors, Nikola Tesla and all those,
Or aliens.
well, aliens, or maybe they were inventing things like that,
Oh.
and the patents have been confiscated by the U.S. government and, not released to the public.
Yeah.
So you never know.
If any one of us gets killed or disappears, the government did it.
You know what would be deep? Is if, like, the aliens captured somebody like Ben Franklin, right? And Ben Franklin, they really didn't know anything at that time. You know what I mean? Like, they were driving spaceships like ours, and Ben Franklin, like, invented all their technology. And, like, all their stuff.
Huh.
So it was, like, actually humans that invented the technology that's coming back to Earth present day.
That sounds like a novel.
Oh,
Sounds
There
like
you
a
go.
good plot for a novel.
A novel idea.
man.
Yeah,
Oh,
somebody needs to write that.
Do you get it? It's a novel idea.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us on this edition of the Paranormal Pub Table. And we hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
That's Boo Sniffer
It's an alien.
howling in the background.
He's getting probed. He's getting a gift.
He's getting a gift. Yeah, I wouldn't want that gift.
Yeah, if you don't know, check out on Instagram and Facebook. Boo Sniffer has his own Facebook page. Like it, follow it.
Yeah, we were thinking about training him for a paranormal investigation canine.
Yeah, we're having trouble at this point keeping him from sniffing crotches and jumping up and eating sausages out of the pan. So
Right.
that may be a little ways down the road
Right.
with him.
Right.
You know,
If nothing else, maybe it's mascot.
he's still a puppy.